The hero, normally jovial and humorous in their interactions, steps into a watering hole for villains, shaking with rage, tears running down their face, and with as much patience and calm as they can muster, simply asks who did it? I sat at the bar in the speakeasy, nursing my drink and a headache. The light show this morning hadn't done me any favors, nor had the earthquake that followed. While no one claimed responsibility for the crime spree, the celebratory laughter from the back booth suggested the likely culprits. I glanced in their direction but didn't recognize any faces, rare after over 200 years of coming here. The lights seemed to shine brighter, prompting me to bury my face in my hands and groan. "You good, Locke?" Sam asked, leaning in. I lowered my hands to respond, only to realize the lights were indeed intensifying. I grabbed Sam's head, pulling him down toward the counter while covering the back of my head with my other hand. Bulbs began to burst, and then the door slammed open. I looked up and swiped my hand through my hair to check for glass. I turned, trying to recall any spells to defend myself. In the doorway stood Bubblegum, the newest and youngest member of the city's hired heroes. Her bright pink and white outfit contrasted sharply with the red on her face. She was shaking, tears streaming down her cheeks as she scanned the room. "Who did it?" Her usually upbeat voice was laced with fury. In all my encounters with her, I'd never seen her without a smile. A sense of unease settled in my stomach, more than just my migraine. She had faced earthquakes before, and while the light show was new, it didn't seem inherently dangerous. I am not sure where this anger had come from. Pink lightning danced around her arms, drawing my attention to a small package she held. Suddenly, I realized why my stomach was in knots. I stood, unable to control my movements, walking toward her. She was trying to catch my eye, searching for a confession, but my gaze was fixed on who, she was holding. As I reached her, I extended my hand. She flinched but relaxed when she saw I meant no harm. I brushed the blanket aside and confirmed my worst fears: a child, less than a year old. I cupped his face in my hand and looked up into her tear-filled eyes. Though her tears flowed just as heavy, there was an understanding between us. "No children. I have few rules, but this is number one." I whispered the words, yet everyone in the bar heard me. My eyes glowed with an unholy shade of green, and the baby's cheek grew warm. A hazy cloud surrounded him as I inhaled deeply. I chose not to tell her what was happening. I wasn't sure she could bear the truth of the child's last moments. Fear, drowned in tears, all alone. She looked to me, hope and desperation mingling in her gaze, pleading for me to save him. "I can't fix him, child. I am sorry." I turned my gaze to the back booth, confirming my earlier suspicions. I extended my hand, and a shadowy copy of my hand continued where my reach stopped. The ghastly appendage curled behind the group, then snapped back, launching them toward the front of the bar. Ghostly tendrils secured each of the four to the ground, binding their limbs and muffling their protests. Their fear was palpable. I almost missed this part of my powers. I had no intention of sharing this darkness with Bubblegum. It had long been mine to command. I wouldn't ask her to punish those who broke my rules. "What do you intend to do with them, Warlock?" I grunted in response. "They are no longer a problem. You may watch, but I suggest you leave." I waited until her footsteps faded, not bothering to stop the other villains following her. They knew what happened when you ignored the rules. The tendrils tightened, and the muffled screams were barely audible.